Hey, Stegosaurus Soul coming to you again here with Recovering Racist, Redwood Rant number 2. Uh, so the world is still torn apart, and there's still a lot of anger and yelling to be heard, and a cry in desperation for a sign that the concern is heard. All of this lying that happened, the disgrace that was swallowed and defended and cheered about, saying how dang those son of a bitches kneeling, how dare they. Well, that thievery of narrative, that corruption, taking what truly is and turning it into something else, it's actually what's causing all this problem. When people who mean no harm, when innocent persons are called subjects and described in ways that make it okay to do ugly things to them, and everyone just believes that narrative and lets that narrative continue. That's why what's happening is happening, because everyone was ignoring that voice. Oh no, don't disrespect the flag, don't disrespect the flag, when the real disrespect of the flag is allowing people who say they represent it to keep spitting on it, to allow someone to keep hugging it in front of everybody on camera while doing the exact opposite of what that flag is supposed to represent. Be fair to everyone. Give the respect that every human being, every citizen of this country has that inalienable right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. But when that corruption is changed, when people are pulled over and instead of who they are being acknowledged, this whole imagined scenario of fear and, oh my god, I'm in danger and this person probably wants to kill me, so I better kill them first, without seeing the disease of that. It's an autoimmune disease. It's like if the human body's own blood decided to turn against what was healthy within it and said, well, stupid platelets, I don't know what you're doing here because you're not like me, so I'm going to attack you. Well, that's kind of what is happening now, and what started happening in the beginning when a false witness, Trump is a false witness. People who are more noble, who do things more for love, for other people, he can't fathom that. That does not fit his narrative of life, which is egomania. And there was a time when people believed that everything revolves around the earth, and if you had any kind of opinion that said otherwise, you're in trouble because that didn't fit the narrative of the ruling party. And now what's happening, people don't recognize that this brilliant garden that we have established, that the United States Constitution has tried to enable, where as many as possible, when it's held to its truest form, are given the opportunity to flourish and blossom and become who they can be, instead of being choked through one single narrative, through one single opinion of what's right and what's wrong. And that's the big ugliness of tyranny and dictatorship, is that it strangles humanity. It takes the color of a garden and it chokes it and strips it to just a few. While it's described as the most beautiful thing in the world by those who just refuse to see color and refuse to open up their eyes and see the world beyond them. It takes humility of heart to be the greatest. And as much as the president wants to be the greatest who ever lived, until there's love for others that exceeds love for himself, it can never happen. And as long as he keeps trying to dominate the narrative with falsehood and changing the narrative, the corruption of intent, when somebody means something, but you're looking them in the eyes and telling them that what they mean is not what they mean, it's corruption. And it's a lesson that I've learned, that many people are poor listeners and they hear more what's in their mind than what's being told to them. Empathy is that key to awareness, to see beyond that. So without empathy, you've got blindness. And now we have a blind captain in lead of a world in crisis, trying to default onto the bully way, the way that we fought to not be like, the way that we've all come together to agree isn't correct. And now he's trying to divide the less diverse states with the diverse states. Those of us who shore against the rest of the world, those of us who interact with those of different cultures and religions, we know what they're really like. So we don't buy into the bullshit that's being told, excuse my language, about all the evil that's coming our way by those who just want to do good for others and do good for their children and feel they're part of goodness and humanity. And to criticize people for believing that our land is a land where God exists and gives opportunity to the good-hearted, to want to crush that narrative and steal it. And you can't expect good things to come by following false narratives. It just won't happen. It never will. And artists try to say this all different ways. Poets try to say this all different ways. Prophets, scientists, economists, everybody who seeks for truth. These are the people now being despised. It's all about installing people who flatter and don't really know, but they're willing to go, yeah. That partial vision, that's awesome. Wow, that's the clearest picture of the world. And people who are willing to believe that are entrenched. And that's why we're in danger. And I don't know where this is going, but until there's words of peace from above, until the president actually gives indication that he understands by having love for all of his citizens, not just the ones who kneel, not just the ones who flatter falsely with praise for what is not praiseworthy, I don't know, but he surrounds himself by liars. And I've dug my trench and my grave in a way, because I understand narcissistic personality disorder. I understand that I've been antithetical to what Trump is trying to say and vice versa. And there's no taking back what I've said, and I can't take it back, even gun to my head. I can only hope that he becomes wise and understands that if President Donald J. Trump wants to be the greatest who ever lived, he must love others more than himself, and only blessings give. But as long as he trusts in deception and putting people down, as much as he may savor the beautiful lust of a crown, pride precedes a fall. That's just the way it goes. It doesn't really matter how you describe a rose. So those of us with vision who spend our time in prayer try to put these messages in ways that prove we care, to try to help you understand, to bridge that awful gap, so that you do not fall into the pit where death's tongue and jaws just keep lapping and gnawing and swallowing us down. And it's always deception. So it's always the lie being believed that it's true that makes people cast out of paradise. So it was unfortunate that this beautiful country was described in a way that gave the president every reason to think we should slap it like a husband slaps a wife. But we did. It was done. And the Senate gave a big old, hey, it's okay. Corruption, it's okay. You're dishonest. Yeah, but it's okay. That door was opened, and suddenly the world's getting sick, and come on, you can blame anyone you want, but there's only one person that's president right now. And the president can blame the crew, but he's still the captain, and this is what's happening. So I hope we can get wiser, love one another, and stop enabling falsehood. I hope, as the way that they say it, the people around him grow some huevos and stop feeling like they're going to benefit from the deception and the thievery, and just grow a pair and recognize that, and it's just that, forgive that expression, maybe that wasn't a good one to use, especially now in these times, but bravery is lacking. So it's time for them to grow some breasts and a good womanhood. The women by whom we all live, the gender that the almighty life force chose to give birth to every man on earth. It's time for us to be more like women and be more loving and be more giving and caring and nurturing, and stop this other false narrative that somehow God picked man to be the head of the household. Oh, let me see. Oh, man came from a woman, but somehow man is smarter than a woman. Force that narrative. No, it's silly. Oh, you noticed something. I broke my hand Friday night. Learned a lesson. I got angry. I was defending Black Lives Matter, and I pounded my hand on the table. And there were objects on the table I knew I shouldn't have pounded. I pounded it anyway, and sure enough, I broke right where my pinky finger meets the hand. But I learned a lesson from that once you act in anger, no matter how regretful you may be, no matter how much you might want to take it back, once you let that anger go in and have place, you're going to regret it, but the damage will already be done. And so even though most people go, oh my God, I broke my hand, no, I just freaking splint it up, secure it, freaking keep working, ain't going to let it stop me. But I learned a lesson to encourage me in what I do as a poet. I'm trying to prevent war. I'm trying to prevent hatred, because once it erupts and people see the foolishness, the stupidity of their actions, it doesn't matter how much they regret it, it's too late. So I may have broken my hand being close enough to God to be quickly chastised. Thank you, Lord. I take that as a sign of friendship more than anything else. Like I said, it ain't stopping me. I got pain, but I did it. It's my fault, so I just keep on going. But before humanity breaks its hand, responding in anger to what they have right to be angry for, but anger is not the solution. Let us evolve beyond this. So again, I just got finished driving my paralyzed friend who became paralyzed after he just got promoted. I believe it was to sergeant. And an accident paralyzed him from the neck down. And he is the most wonderful speech giver, motivating person of all. And I am proud and honored and blessed to be his friend and personal driver. I got to take him to Tiburon today and spend time with his family. So now I'm just going to end this Redwood rant under my redwood tree. Wishing you all love on this Sunday, and hope whatever I said has some value. I'm just trying to do what poets do and share my point of view. So I love you. Stegosaurus Soul. W. Joseph Stegner Jr. signing off.